On Friday morning, I headed out of town bound for Brothers, Oregon to meet up with a few of my followers for a couple-a-day overland adventure out exploring the Central Oregon desert. About a month earlier, I'd put a video up on my YouTube channel inviting any of my followers that wanted to come along to join me for a little adventure. I was expecting about 5 to 10 vehicles and looking forward to a relaxing couple of days just getting to know a few of the guys that had been following my channel for a long time. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. Well, I am on my way out to meet up with some other guys for the Coyote Works Open Invite 2018 Fall Overland trip. So I'm looking forward to meeting a bunch of guys out here. I'm going to film as much as I can along the trip. I just thought it'd be cool to take you guys along, give you a chance to meet some of the other guys from my channel and everything. And we're going to go on a pretty awesome route that I have lined out. Should be a good trip. Hopefully everyone has a good time, and I'll show you guys more along the way. A few more miles down the road and I pulled into the town of Brothers. And as I pulled in, I was blown away by what I saw. I stepped out of my rig a little bit in shock and awe and took a quick count and counted over 20 rigs sitting around. Over the course of the next hour, rigs just continued to pour in, and I met guys from Tennessee, Texas, Minnesota, Montana, Southern Oregon, and all around. And I'll be honest with you guys, I really had no plan for what to do with this many people and this many rigs. What's up, guys? Well, I'm beyond thrilled. I think at this point we have 37 rigs for the first open invitation Coyote Works Overland adventure out through the desert. So we're getting ready to saddle up and hit the trail, but man, we've got people here from all over the Northwest, as far away as Texas. I think we got a guy from Minnesota. This is just crazy. I was thinking maybe we'd have 5 or 10 rigs here, and like I said, I think at last count we have 37. We might be pushing 40 rigs at this point.
A lot more people than I was.
Holy smokes, you're telling me. As I pulled out of Brothers at 1 p.m. with almost 40 rigs in tow behind me, my mind was scrambling trying to rethink my plan. This wasn't 5 to 10 rigs of guys from around the Northwest. This was almost 40 rigs of people who'd driven from as far away as Tennessee. So as I pulled the convoy off the pavement, I was thinking about the number of people behind me and the distance and effort some of them had put into getting there, and really feeling the pressure to do everything I could to make sure everyone had a great time on this trip. Alright guys, I'm up here in the front of the convoy with Matt and Oregon Mike, and we're just left the pavement. Stopped here. We're going to air down and let everybody make any adjustments, but this will be the last time our tires see pavement for the next couple of days. And I think at last count we had 39 rigs in line.
Ooh, yeah.
Does that sound right?
It was at least 37.
37?
Yeah.
So somewhere between 37 and 39 rigs.
Shoot, maybe even 40.
That's a lot of vehicles. Brandon, where are you from?
A little bit everywhere.
Living on the road.
Yeah, 3 months now.
There's a lot of nice rigs here, huh? A lot of nice rigs here.
Beautiful rigs.
As I walked the length of the convoy, I was amazed at the variety of rigs we had along with us. Everything from tricked out Overland rigs to Jamie and Sarah and their old Ford pickup truck. It was pretty awesome. Pretty cool to see all those rigs stretched out across the desert for almost a mile. As we headed onto the trail and deeper into the desert, we had about 9 miles or so to travel to the place I had identified for our first night's campsite. The only problem was I'd picked out a campsite for about 9 or 10 rigs, not for 40. So I was a little nervous as we were traveling along the way. But as I looked in my rearview mirror and saw that string of rigs out there across the desert behind me, it was just an awesome feeling. A couple hours later, we were all settled into the campsite. It wasn't the spot that I'd picked for 40 people, but being out in the middle of the desert, there's always plenty of room for everyone to spread out and find their own spot. After I got my campsite set up, I spent the rest of the afternoon and evening just wandering through the camps, meeting people, visiting with them, checking out their rigs. Up until this point, I'd never even been on a group trail ride with anyone, so for me this was becoming a completely new and pretty incredible experience. As darkness fell, we all began to gather around the campfire, share stories, food, and one of the high points for me was a little bit of Sarah and Jamie's dirty rice and jackrabbit they cooked up. Alright guys, it's just been an awesome day today. Unbelievable turnout for the first open invitational Coyote Works Overland Central Oregon Desert trip. I think all told, we ended up with 39 vehicles out here. I'm not really sure how many people, probably, gosh, I'm guessing maybe 60, 70 people or so. So I'm just settling in for my first night's sleep in the Free Spirit Recreation 55 High Country tent, and I can already feel that it's warmer inside here. I thought I was going to have to use my heater a little bit tonight, but as soon as I closed up the tent, it's actually nice and warm in here. So this insulated tri-layer material here is definitely making a difference, and it's a pretty good amount of insulation. So anyway, I'm looking forward to getting a good night's sleep tonight and having a good day. Tomorrow we've got some good miles of trail to cover. It's going to be a little rougher than today, but it should be a pretty fun adventure, and then we've got an amazing campsite for tomorrow night. So for now, that's all for me, guys. Coyote Works out.
Good morning, guys. Well, it's about 5:45 in the morning, and just waking up, getting my first little bottle of coffee in me this morning, and I don't hear anyone moving around in camp, but I think I'm gonna get up. I slept pretty good for a while last night. This tent's really comfortable, but I was up kind of late last night visiting with everyone, had a really nice time. But now I'm going to get up, start buttoning up my camp, see if I can get a little bit ahead of everyone else, so maybe I can wander around and get some video of some other folks' camp. So I think my next step is set up my table, have a little breakfast.
After I got my first cup of coffee in me, I was excited to get back out and visit with some of the folks that had made the trip. So we spent the next hour or so just wandering around camp, meeting more people and getting to know them, and just enjoying the experience of all waking up together out in the middle of the incredible, beautiful Central Oregon desert. The worst thing about this entire trip is seeing this Jeep come along. After a leisurely morning, it was time to start getting everybody organized and lined up to get back on the trail for the day. Our goal was to get a few miles further, about 7 miles further, into a lake bed where we would camp for the second night. Man, I have to tell you guys, hearing all those engines start up, seeing all those rigs jockeying around and slowly moving into the lineup was just one of the most incredible feelings in the world. So for me, there's always been this really cool moment in the mornings when I'm out exploring in the desert. It's that moment after camp's all buttoned up, when you're just getting ready to saddle up, jump in the rig, and hit the trail for the day. And that moment when you just have that excitement and that anticipation for what you're going to see that day, what adventures might lie ahead. But I gotta tell you guys, as I looked at that line of rigs, saw all those people standing around, and realized there was about 60 of us all sharing that same moment at the same time, man, that just put things on a whole new level. We should have a good day on the trail today. We'll see some cool country, and somebody brought in Starbucks, so everybody's having Starbucks and donuts, and We're just kind of milling around waiting for the last few stragglers to get their camps buttoned up, and then we'll be on the trail. Alright guys, we are on the trail. It's about 9 minutes after 10 and we've got all 41 rigs moving. We're gonna head about a mile down the trail and then we're gonna stop and check out a little side canyon that's pretty cool. A couple of the guys want to gather up some obsidian, so it should be a good place for that. And then that'll also give us a chance to do kind of our first shakedown, make sure everybody's gear's all tightened down and give a chance for everybody to adjust anything they need to. We crossed some cool trails that day, and a few hours later we rolled out onto one of my favorite spots out in that part of the country. It's a huge dry lake bed that's surrounded by old growth juniper trees. So we all filtered out around the edge of the lake and started dispersing and setting up our camps. No campgrounds, no picnic tables, no services, just plenty of room for everybody to spread out wherever they chose. And as any of you know who've been watching my channel for a while, I'm sort of a firearms enthusiast. I believe in the Second Amendment and I enjoy shooting. So in true Coyote Works fashion, after we got our camp set up, we set up a shooting range out on that lake bed. Those desert lake beds are some of my favorite places to shoot. Wide open, all kinds of ranges available. We had a couple of thousand yards at our disposal and we had a great time shooting AR-15s, Glocks, SIGs. Reed even hauled out his old M14 battle rifle and I got a chance to ring it out a little bit. All in all, just good old clean fun out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. I'm gonna start off on the 7.
Okay. Yeah, left fly. What are you shooting? Oh, left. And as the sun dipped down below the horizon, we all started gathering around the campfires. So one of the guys that came on the trip is Austin from Benchmate Knives, and he actually brought one of their knives to me, which I'm really stoked about. What can you just tell us a little bit about that knife?
Yeah, so this is the 162-1. It was based after our original design, the 162 Bushcrafter. So the 162 Bushcrafter was originally designed for survival and bushcrafting in mind. The -1, where it didn't change a lot, we did change the sheath and the handle colors to kind of fit more military specifications. But what we're looking at with this knife is a S30V blade, G10 handle scales, Coke bottle shape, so it really fits the hand well. It's not too thin, it's not too fat. It's got a little hook in the back, so if you do need to do some light chopping, it's not gonna fly out of your hands. And then a nice sharpened spine, so you can really scrape tinder off your jeans, you know, whatever you're scraping, or a ferro rod. So it's a very robust, very overbuilt knife.
And this is super cool because I think it was back in like the early 90s that I got my first Benchmade knife, and this one has Coyote Works engraved on the spine.
Laser engraved.
I'll show, it's laser engraved on there, and it's got the Coyote the Coyote Tan
Yep.
G10 handles.
Yep.
So this is super cool, Austin.
Yeah,
Thank you,
problem.
man.
Thank
you.
you.
Guys are
Appreciate
awesome.
bringing it out here.
You know, two white guys in Mexico with tattoos, you know, you're bound to stick out like a sore thumb, and sure as shit we did. And those were the days of the payphone. I grabbed the payphone, I shoved my quarter in it, and I called my mom's house, and it goes straight to the machine. And I said, listen,
That's good.
so I called my mom's house, and it goes straight to the machine, and I said, listen, if you don't hear from me or Dawn in 2 weeks, we're in Mexico and we need help. I hang up the phone and I start swinging. All up until the federales show up and they come.
And as always happens whenever you get a group of guys around the campfire, as the night wore on, the stories got crazier and more outlandish and more entertaining. So after another hour or so of that, it was time to turn in and get ready for the last day of the trip. The next morning, we were treated to one of the most beautiful sights in the world, the sun coming up over the Central Oregon desert. All right, guys, it's Sunday morning and we're getting ready to roll out. And I was just visiting with, this is Zach with Northwest Wanderer, just kind of starting a YouTube channel.
Yep, just started it this summer, picked it up. I got a handful of videos. My channel is mainly about just my adventures in the Northwest, paddleboarding, kayaking, overlanding. Pretty soon here I'll be doing some moto vlogs, so it's just a mix of everything, but just follow me along in my adventures.
How far did you come for this trip? Where's home for you?
Arlington, Washington, so eight and a half hour trip.
8.5 hours.
Yep.
And what did you think? Have you enjoyed the trip?
Yeah, it's been amazing. This is definitely completely new to me. I haven't done any of this extreme overlanding, and it was pretty fun. I got a lot of cool footage.
Nice.
I've really enjoyed the trip.
So Zach helped out on the radios. What happened was we had 41 rigs, and so what that meant was it was tough for the front of the line to reach the back of the line with radio. So Zach was good enough to jump on a radio and be a relay guy in between, and that was super.
Pretty much right in the middle, so I was able to get both Jackalope and then Coyote Works. So
if we did this again, would you enjoy doing more of them?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Anytime I'll be able to come down, I will for sure. I'm actually, now that I'm out here and I've seen it, I'm going to continue to make the trips even just by myself down here, just because I really enjoy the area. It's a lot different than where I'm from in Washington, so it's really cool. I've truly enjoyed coming out here and just experiencing all this open land.
Zach, good to meet you, my friend.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think, man? Did you expect this many vehicles coming out here?
Not at all. I was thinking, in fact, Oregon Mike stayed at my house on Thursday night, and we were talking about how many rigs to expect. And I was saying like 7 or 8, and he was saying like 10 to 12.
I had a feeling that your numbers were off a little bit. So I didn't. I think, what did you have, like 38 to 40 rigs?
Yeah. When we left camp yesterday morning, I think there were 41 vehicles, counting you.
So when I was shooting some drone footage when everybody was lined up, it just seemed like that line went on forever and ever and ever. So it was pretty incredible turnout. Yeah. Now, is this something you want to do every year?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody seemed to have a good time, so I'm thinking maybe I'll do a spring one and a fall one every year.
So now we're just kind of wrapping up. This is the last day, and how much longer do you think before, how much driving do you think we got today?
About 2 hours.
You're live.
Hey, Joe England, Franklin, Tennessee. Made the trip out here about 2,200 and some change, and had a great time. Thanks, man. It's been awesome.
All right, how far did you guys drive for this adventure?
I'm from Portland. From Corvallis.
Corvallis?
San Fran, that's at least 600 miles.
Did you guys enjoy the trip?
Oh, absolutely. Good trip. Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it.
Before we headed out on the last day of our journey, we decided to take the time to line up all the rigs out across the lake bed. And actually, it didn't end up being quite all of them because a few more guys were still breaking their camps. But let me tell you guys, looking at that line of kick-ass four-wheel drives out there all the way across that lake bed in the middle of the desert was an awesome sight that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And I think the only thing cooler than seeing all those rigs lined up out there across that lake bed was when they all started their engines and started heading out across that lake bed to hit the trail for the day. After a few hours of some rocky and dusty trails, we eventually made it back to the pavement. And the last time that we would spend together as a group was our stop right before we headed out onto the pavement and went our separate directions. We halted the convoy so we could all air back up our tires, make any adjustments from gear we needed to, and get everything buttoned up for the long trips home.
How good's your compressor?
Really good. You need some air?
I do. I aired down, but I didn't have a chance to get another compressor before this trip.
That one's brand new, so let's fix you up.
Probably the absolute coolest thing for me about the trip was the people that I met and the friends that I would make. And I think that's always the case when you have experiences like this. It's the relationships that mean the most, the relationships and the memories that you create together. There's a bond that comes from sharing the trail together, and we logged some miles in some of the most remote part of the Central Oregon desert. And I know on that journey I made a few friends that I'll probably have for the rest of my life. And I hope everybody else on the trip did too. So I look forward to many more trips like this with you guys. But for now, Coyote Works out. I'll see you on the trail.